What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Here with another fantastic interview. So lucky and grateful on Thanksgiving to be joined by the one and only Grove. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going very well, thank you, Jai. It's very cold, dark, but my spirits are feeling good and light.
That's always the move, isn't it, huh?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, speaking of kind of dark, let's talk about the new song, right? Break a Sweat. Hitting on these really important terms that I think maybe the media hasn't been hitting on so much, especially Sudan and Congo. I
Hmm.
think these are two situations that have kind of been left in the dust, which is tragic and somewhat like I feel like it's kind of performative in a way that people will selectively care about one issue, yet not others that are similar and tied together. So let's talk about that. Why did you choose these very important violent problems alongside with a very, bass heavy industrial track to go along with it?
Mm. So I think a big part of the past 2 years of my life has been focusing on what's been happening in Palestine. And I would say it's probably only the past year that I've been educated on what's been happening in Sudan and Congo. And like you say, they're all interwoven struggles with the same root cause that is um, a lust for power, a lust for control, a lust for resources in some of the least cared about places in the world. Um, and yeah, it's actually incapacitated me for a while. I felt like I couldn't create anything. I was felt totally dry, like the well had dried up creatively in me. Um, and then I guess where I'm from in Bristol, in England, has a big legacy of experimentation, of boundary pushing noises. And I've always enjoyed noise making that's more abrasive and um, hard to categorize, I guess. So I was just jamming in the studio when it came to Break a Sweat. I was just jamming on like some pedals, drum machine, and synths. And it was the first time in ages that I felt like flow. I got into a flow state with this jam that became Break a Sweat, which was originally about a 20-minute jam. And from that, the words instantly clicked, instantly came through. And yeah, it's been on a little journey since that moment with like the addition of the saxophone with my friend James Storm, who absolutely smashed it. And yeah, it's been a journey of a track, and um, I'm glad for it to be out in the world because it means that I now feel a bit less powerless. I feel like okay, I've really harnessed my creative voice and I'm putting it in the right direction.
I love that. And I feel the exact same way. It really is a powerful track. And when you do something about it, even if it's writing a song, when you're talking about it, it makes a tangible difference because, if this video gets one view, that one person's going to know maybe a little bit more than they did before, which is so important. I do DIY booking in Atlanta where I live for
Nice.
charity. And we did a show in July where we donated everything to mutual aid for a family in Palestine. And being able to do that, even if it's like $400, it's just $400. Being able to do that makes you feel a little bit less powerless, which is
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
And
And
you're helping.
some of the merch from what I'm doing as well, we've got like a few prints, like 40 hand printed prints that we're going to raise about 400 pounds as well,
Exactly.
and
It's
we can send that off
fantastic.
to yeah, exactly. It's harnessing that inner fire, harnessing that inner power and amplifying it.
Exactly. And speaking of really abrasive noises, I saw that you opened up for the one, the only, and the great IDLES. How was that?
I did, yeah. So yeah, that was back in the summer, back in August, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible, and I'd supported them when they did a festival back in 2021 as well, which was equally as spectacular. And because they're like a Bristol-based band, and them doing hometown shows is always such a massive occasion. But this one back in the summer was special, powerful. I was performing a lot of newer things. I was discovering all of the amazing artists that were performing on that day. And yeah, I had like one of my favorite nights of the year actually. Felt really connected and mm, yeah, really connected.
It's perfect. They are really an incredible group. They've come to my town every single year in a row after the pandemic, and I've missed them every single time. But this, I think it was in September, I got to see him in
Amazing.
in
And
a
how was
big
it?
field. It was insane. It was crazy. It was at a
Yeah.
festival, and we kind of missed some of the opening people, so we got there just in time, and I got my shit rocked, and it was
Oh yeah.
crazy. And I had the best lamb shawarma of my life afterwards. Like it was a great night.
Sounds like a
Fantastic night.
perfect 1-2 punch.
It was, yeah. And then
Yeah.
I kind of sat back a little bit. Lenny Kravitz played and then Deftones.
Nice.
Not a bad night. Not a
Nice.
bad night at all.
Yeah.
Do you think that idols kind of are inspiring as a force, considering that they've kind of hit this almost, I would say, maybe even mainstream kind of cesspool, but they're still, talking about these important issues. At the show I went to, we chanted Free Palestine for like a good 10 minutes, you know? The
Mhm.
fact that they have that power. Do you think that's inspiring to your art and to maybe show how far this can go?
Absolutely. I think I've got the utmost highest respect for anyone that uses their platform to challenge power structures and to embolden other people to do the same. So that's Idols, Bob Vylan, Kneecap, hundreds, thousands of other artists who are perhaps less well known, but are really willing to use what platform they've got to speak truth to power. And I really think that's our role as artists, like our limited role that we can offer is to make the revolution irresistible. That's a quote from Tony Cade Mambara, I think. But like it's experiencing that as an artist, witnessing another artist at that level embody that power. Yeah, endlessly inspiring.
Exactly. And I'm glad you brought up Bob Vylan. I think that that was so captivating because I'd heard about Kneecap. I'd heard about Idols, of course, but I didn't really know about Bob Vylan until, I checked my news and the BBC like cut him off. How
Yeah,
like I think that was hilarious because they're trying to silence him, but it only made him bigger and it only made everything that he stood for bigger. I mean, it's so funny
exactly.
seeing that backfire, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's the hypocrisy of the whole system is that in it trying to suppress truth, truth will always prevail. And the harder you push it down, it's like the stronger it comes out in just different directions that they can't predict.
Exactly.
Um, so yeah, it's foolish moves from the establishment constantly, and I guess in them um, being so dealing with it so wrong, it's as you say, it's spotlighted Palestine even more as an issue, and it's got even more people locked into the plight of the Palestinian people, which is all Bob Dylan was trying to do anyway. So
Exactly. Even if I mean, it might sound a little shocking until you do some digging and you see what's really going on, and that, I mean, it's crazy. It's not tangible that you go to school and you learn about these genocides and you learn about what Belgium did to the Congo, what
mm,
like years ago, like almost 100 years ago, I feel like, right?
I
And
think so.
then they don't tell you that it's happening again right now.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
learn about that. And I think that's so crucial, and I love seeing
absolutely.
the art space empower that.
Because I guess there's the classic thing of history being written by the victors, and I guess the British Empire and by extension, like the American Empire, has been the victors up until recently, up until we've been way more connected and we've been able to have access to the vast history of the world uncensored. Um, yeah, now I think we're truly seeing the face of empire unmasked, totally unmasked.
Exactly.
Um, and
And
now
now,
it's a case of what do we do about it?
that was my next question, right? How do we keep the flame stoked? Because it seems it's only be getting bigger and bigger, and people are not caring about these multitude of genocides. But we've got our governments that are still supplying weapons to maybe the I don't know what would the word be, the killers, the murderers, right?
Yeah.
And it you kind of seem powerless for the everyday citizen just sitting in your home. How do we make sure that more people are aware of what's going on, and how can we empower more people to do the right thing?
Mm. Well, I guess us feeling powerless is totally by design. It's no coincidence that we feel powerless. And it all, I guess, stems from us being so individualized. Whereas, I guess, community, in person community action was has been a lot bigger in decades gone by because it had to be. There was no being connected through the phone. Like you had to meet in person in order to get something going. And I think I imagine what we have to do isn't some crazy complex thing. It's it's speaking to your neighbors metaphorically and literally. And I guess it starts with trying to improve our material circumstances. In that it's hard. It is hard. I understand it's hard to care about um, things going on in a different country when you find it hard to put food on the table. So I guess it starts with a sense of mutual aid and solidarity. Um, and through that community nurturing, care and love grows. And what that care and love grows into is a care and love for the country that you live in. And if in truly wanting to see the best for the country that you live in, that's when you're willing to fight to have your views seen versus the the kind of what you're being told your country is, or what your country is doing, not in your name. Um, so I think it starts off really simple: mutual aid, community building, um, and direct action.
Exactly. And I think it's kind of been crazy to see that small communities and suburbs even are losing that sparkle. Not, I mean, I think it never really started out that bright, but it's almost like we're becoming less connected to our own neighbors, and you don't even say hi to the people next to you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty lucky. I live in an area where that is happening still. People are still saying hi. People walk around every day. You know who's around you, and that's a blessing for sure. I completely agree. It starts where there's food insecurity, where there's food deserts, where maybe where there's a community that's fully reliant, at least in my area, on like SNAP benefits, right? How do we
Mm.
lift the burden on those who, you know, are less fortunate, especially on a day like today where it's centered around food? And,
Yeah.
Thanksgiving is a day that's like, it's got a heinous, heinous past, Absolutely almost unforgivable of what actually happened. And no one knows about that, of course. But then,
What
like,
is the past of Thanksgiving? I'm curious, like an
it's,
overview.
it's a lot, but it's almost it's kind of drenched in blood and drenched in like indigenous erasure,
Got
you
you.
know, where the pilgrims came and they celebrated and they gave food. That's not exactly what happened, right?
Yeah.
And of course disease spread and famine spread, and then eventually they all passed away.
Mm.
And I think it kind of gets magnified, which is it's a good thing now that people are starting to become more aware of it, but it is still something that happened. You know it's gone. It's fast.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy, but I love what you're talking about. It starts small. It always starts small.
Yeah. Yeah. All the smallest fires, have the potential to turn into the biggest, yeah, the biggest flames. And I think it's a lot of it's about keeping that flame alight internally as well, because obviously there's the external world in community building, in doing that connection. But I guess you can only engage with that on a deeper level once you like really know yourself and have that journey of like self inquiry and like aligning with like your sense of purpose in this world. And
Hmm.
purpose is a big, it can be feel like quite a big thing, but it's the small things. It's like I, as a person, my purpose, I want to make people feel good about themselves. I want to be a kind person. That's going to be my purpose today. So it's like those simple things, and really enriching your inner world, um, to bring your best self to the outer one.
That's beautiful. And speaking of your best self, your best music, in the little press email that I got, thanks to thanks. Oh, I need to pull up the
It's
name.
Josh.
Yes, Josh the
Thanks,
goat,
Josh.
Josh the goat. Thank you, Josh, for always sending me great stuff. In the little email Josh sent me, I hear that this is not, this is not the end. This is
It's
a
not
new
the end.
era.
I
Are
I believe so.
are you like liable to talk about that? Can you give us some details or?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Break a Sweat is the first single off of a project called Hydra, and that project is a short EP, but it packs a punch in that it is unrelenting in how it sounds. It's an intense and beautiful sound experience. So it's like going to like the pit of frustration and rage, but then also mixing that with the beauty and love of life and of vulnerability. So it's like that kind of double-sided coin in a project. And it's called Hydra because it is loosely based off of the Greek myth of Hercules and the Hydra. Hercules being like the demigod and the Hydra being the many-headed beast that he has to fight as part of one of his challenges. And the Hydra being the many-headed beast that once you cut one head off, three more grow or two more grow, feels like what the establishment is like geared to look like to us. It's like, oh, okay, you know, um, oh, you think you've stopped the issue of wealth inequality with this thing. Okay, chop that head off, two more grow, and we're still supporting billionaires and um, making life hard for the poorest people. And it feels like people are constantly reacting to these horrific policies and are getting nowhere. But then I believe for us that we have the warrior's path to go on as a collective to harness that inner power. And Hercules not only was chopping the heads off himself, but had the help of his companion, who is called IOLES. And it was through that like teamwork and cohesion that Hercules cut off the head. IOLES cauterized it with like hot flame, so that the heads couldn't grow back. So I guess it's kind of like embodying that community cohesion in a revolutionary spirit in order to really change what's going on right now, because it's you know it's the world's in a strange place right now, in a very strange place in terms of its political landscape, and it's only going to get stranger.
Yeah, I completely agree. Uh, where I am, it's quite an educated area. It's mostly conservative,
Hmm.
but I think it's so interesting to see. Like I go to liberal arts school, and it's IB, and I count myself very lucky that I have that opportunity every single day. It's incredible, the education, but then also it's kind of very interesting to see people that maybe shield themselves from something that's so present in our everyday world, and also like the teachers. I mean, if you're going to a school that prides itself on liberal arts, you can expect to learn about, the things that are buried.
Hmm.
And so people that will like look at that in class and then go home and just not give a care is it's interesting. It's
Hmm.
really interesting. And I don't blame it on them.
No,
It's habit.
totally.
We just have to break that habit. It's as easy as
Yeah.
that. Well, listen, thank you so much. That was a great, insightful conversation. I'm so glad that you joined me. Thank you, Josh, again, the GOAT.
Hey, big up Josh the goat.
Exactly. I hope to see you in Atlanta someday. If not, I'm sure I'll make my way to Bristol soon,
Yeah,
hopefully. And say hi to the Idols lads for me. I've been wanting to interview for quite a while. So
I absolutely will, and
who
will
knows?
recommend you highly.
Thank you so much. We'll stay in
All right,
touch. Have a
that's
wonderful
right.
day and see you later.
Take care.
Big ups.
Big ups, big ups.